A few years ago, I went on a camping trip with one of my closest friends, who I'll call Alex. We used to go on these trips together a lot back in college, but now with our full-time jobs, it's more of a rare occasion. Alex was the one who got me into camping. He'd been doing it his whole life, and I had never even spent a night in a tent until I met him. This particular trip happened 2 years ago, during one of our annual camping getaways in the summer. It wasn't anything extreme, just a quick retreat into the woods to escape our daily lives. We didn't go too far out into the forest. It was just a short hike, about 2 hours down a trail, before we set up camp. We didn't plan to hike much. The main goal was to camp, relax, and get away from everything. So, we planned to stay for about 4 or 5 days. When we arrived at our campsite, Alex and I set up our tents, built a fire, and just took in the fresh air. For the next 3 days, we spent our time by the fire, chatting, playing games, and taking walks around the woods. It was exactly what we needed, a peaceful getaway from our busy lives. But by the 4th day, we decided it was time to pack up and head home the next morning. That evening, as the sun was setting, we got the fire started again. Alex said he was going to take a short walk to collect some dry wood for the fire. He asked me to start preparing the food. I did as he asked, but after about 20 minutes, I noticed he still hadn't returned. I figured he must have gotten distracted or decided to wander a little longer. No big deal. But then, 30 minutes passed, and then, an hour. I started to feel uneasy. The sun had already set, and it was getting pretty dark out. I switched on the lantern, but I knew it wouldn't last long on its batteries. By the time it was well past an hour, I was starting to get worried. Alex was the experienced one. He knew the woods like the back of his hand. It just didn't make sense that he'd be lost. I decided to start the fire, hoping the light would help him find his way back. But as the fire crackled and time dragged on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. By the 2-hour mark, I was really starting to panic. I didn't know whether I should go out looking for him, stay put, or maybe even call for help. Every possible scenario ran through my mind. What if he'd gotten injured and couldn't make it back? Or worse, what if something was waiting for him out there? Then, out of nowhere, I heard it, a distant gunshot. It came from the direction Alex had gone, but what scared me the most was that neither of us had brought a gun with us. We didn't have one. My heart was racing now, and I knew I had to act. I grabbed the lantern and headed out in search of him. I hadn't gotten far when I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps, steady, hurried footsteps coming toward me. I froze, my hand trembling as I held up the lantern. The light barely reached a few feet ahead of me, and it felt like the forest was swallowing the rest of the space. But then, through the darkness, I saw someone coming toward me. It was Alex, but something was off. His face was pale, his eyes wide with terror. His expression was unlike anything I had ever seen before, pure, unfiltered fear. He looked at me, and in a hushed voice he said, "We need to leave, now." I couldn't get a word out. We just grabbed our things and started running. We left everything behind, our tents, the fire, just ran. I kept asking him what had happened, but he wouldn't answer. Not until we were finally out of the woods. When we were safe, he told me that someone had approached him while he was collecting wood. The man had pulled a gun on him and told him to be quiet, to follow him. They walked for what felt like miles, but before they reached wherever the man was taking him, Alex made a break for it. That's when I found him, running, terrified, in the dark. That's all he said, and it's all he's ever said. Every time I ask, he shuts down and refuses to share more. But there's one thing he never mentioned, the gunshot. It's as though he's deliberately avoiding the subject, and I can't help but feel there's something he's hiding. I've thought about it countless times, and I can't shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, Alex had managed to overpower the man somehow. It would explain the gunshot and why the man didn't pursue him. Whatever happened that night, it's something Alex refuses to talk about. Ever since then, he hasn't wanted to go camping again. And, to be honest, I don't think I ever will either. But no matter how much time passes, I still can't help but wonder what really happened out there in the woods that night. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more exciting content. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And if you found this helpful, share it with a friend. See you in the next one.